Hello everyone, I'm Snega from 3rd BCom B. In this video, I'm going to explain you all about allowances. Let us see each and every topic in this video in an explained manner. Firstly, let's see the meaning of allowance. An allowance is a cash payment to the employee on a regular basis in addition to basic salary to meet certain expenses required to be incurred by him in connection with duties of his office. The allowances are categorized under three subheadings. They are fully exempted allowances, partially taxable allowances, fully taxable allowances. Now we are going to see each types of allowances in more detailed manner. The fully exempted allowances. The allowances which are fully exempted under section 10 are listed below. They are allowances to government employees rendering services outside India, house rent allowances granted to judges of High Court and Supreme Court, sumptuary allowance given to High Court and Supreme Court judges, and allowances received by an employee of UNO from his employer. Next, we see about partially taxable allowances. These exemptions are of two types. They are when exemption depends upon actual expenditure by the employee, and the another one is about the exemption that doesn't depend upon expenditure. That is, exemption is a specified amount given by the government itself. The following allowances are exempted to the extent of the amount utilized for the specified purpose for which the allowance is received, or to the extent of the allowance whichever is least, the amount must be taken for the exemption. They are house rent allowance, entertainment allowance for government employees, education allowance, helper allowance, uniform allowance, and some of the other allowances which are mentioned in these slides. Now let's see about house rent allowances. It is an amount that an employer pays to the employee to compensate for the rent to paid live in the place of employment, which is deductible under income tax of section 10 subsection 13a. The house rent is also partially taxable under three heads, which is about the original HRA amount, or 50% or 40% of his basic salary, depends upon the metropolitan city that the employee lives, or about the rent minus 10% of basic salary. The 50% or 40% of salary deducted depends upon the employee's location in which he lives. Basically, if he lives under 4 metropolitan city like Chennai, Mumbai and Kolkata, then he must be deducted under 50% of metropolitan city, or if he just lives under. Now let's see about the partial taxable allowance, in which the exemption is about only specified amount. That means the government doesn't allow the people to exempt of the actual expenditure. In that, we can see some of the examples of allowances. Some of them are children education allowances, hostel expenditure allowances, transport allowance, allowance given to employee in the transportation industry, special allowance and underground allowance. In the children education allowance, we can exempt up to ₹100 per month for per child up to a maximum of 2 children. In the hostel expenditure allowance, the employee can exempt up to ₹300 per month for per child up to the maximum of 2 children. In the transport allowance, the employee who is blind or deaf or dumb or orthopedically handicapped with disability can exempt up to ₹3,200 per month. Now let us see the other partially taxable allowances which is given by the government exemption. They are special compensatory ill allowance or border area allowance, high altitude allowance, and other allowances up to the certain exemption limit. Now let us see the fully taxable allowances. Some of the examples of fully taxable allowances are dearness allowance, city compensatory allowance, medical allowance, lunch allowance, overtime allowance, family allowance, tiffin allowance, and other allowances which are taxable by the government. The following are the fully taxable allowances meanings. They are overtime allowance, in which the employee who tend to work longer than the operational hours determine the company earn this kind of payment. And the dearness allowance is about the cost of living for workers who are living in various cities and towns for the purpose of employment. And the city compensatory allowance provided by the companies for the employees who compensate to comparatively high housing expenses in urban areas. And the interim allowance is allowance given ahead of final allowance by the employer. Let's see how the allowances are taxable in these following sums. In the example sum 1, they have mentioned that X receives a salary of rupees 9,000 per month and DA of rupees 5,000 per month. His employer in a private company declares 50% of DA to enter into pay for service benefits. Compute the total taxable allowances considering the following information. They have mentioned some of the allowances that we can see that all the allowances they have given us fully taxable. Now let's see how this allowances are impacted in this sum. That we can see that all the allowances they have given is fully taxable, so we have to only multiply by 12 as they mentioned only about the per month allowance, right? So you have to multiply each amount into 12. So you can see that DA is fully taxable, so you have to add it. They have given that DA about. Let's see another example. Examine the tax treatment of the following allowances received by Mr. X employed in a private company. In that question, they have given the following allowances. They are city compensatory allowance 5,000 per month, tiffin allowance 300 per month, servant allowance 1,200 per month, entertainment allowance 9,000 per month, and uniform allowance 6,000, which is fully spent by the employee, and tribal allowance 300 per month, marriage allowance 300 per month, overtime allowance 150 per month, and the helper allowance also they have given that 80 rupees per month, which is 50% spent by the employee, and the project allowance is rupees 100 rupees per month. Now let's see the solution of that sum. Computation of taxable allowances of Mr. X. In this we can see that all the allowances are fully taxable other than the uniform allowance, tribal allowance, and the helper allowance, because the uniform allowance is fully spent by the employee, so it is not taxable. Then the tribal allowance, we have known that the tribal allowance's exemption limit is up to 200 per month, right? 200 into 12, which is 2,400, but he has given that 3,600. We have to deduct 3,600 minus the exemption limit of 2,400. It gives you 1,200. And the helper allowances, which is 50% spent by the employee, so other than that not spent amount, right, though those amount must be taxable, and you can take that for tax purpose. So the total taxable allowances is rupees 1,94,280. I hope you people have understand the concept. Thank you.